Entramos agora no terreno do JonZip e abrimos com I Owe You.
Don't give you the right to mess with my head so I can sleep at night. Then I get up late and weary, and you're on my back. You're driving me to an early grave on a heart attack. Don't need you telling me how to run my life. I'm only yours from 9 till 5.
I Owe You, Nothing at All. É assim que começa a parte em que falamos com o John. Hi, John.
Hello, Nuno.
Hello.
Hello, Lisbon. Hello,
Lisbon and Portugal all together. Yeah, this is a pleasure having you here. You played recently in Lisbon, Algarve too? No.
Yes, the first show was in Guest Club in Faro.
Okay, and this is the second time that you came to Portugal and played, right?
Yes, it came about because André, who's with us in the studio, André Nascimento.
Nascimento, sim.
Nascimento.
I have trouble with the pronunciation.
No problem.
As a fanzine, Alphanet.
Alphanet.
And we did an interview about 7 or 8 years ago.
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Maybe.
And André say, oh, we have to have the Zips over in Portugal, but financially would not be very easy with 4 guys, air travel and all that kind of thing. So
now with the low cost it's better.
Yeah, so I volunteered just to come myself with an acoustic guitar, which I did last year.
Yeah.
And I had made friends with Ramon Contreras from Faro, who was playing in Psychotramps at the time. He's now playing in a band called Razor Kids, and Ramon put the Faro date together, and André put dates together up here. Yeah. So because of that, it was like people had an interest and maybe more interest to see the band, and André then put this tour together that's just passed.
So that's an interview that ends up in a kind of a friendship.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Yeah.
And tell me, we were listening this song "I Owe You." There is a ultra rare track.
Yes, it's on.
There's a story behind that.
Yeah, it was recorded about 18 months ago now in Berlin. The studio was in a former Stasi admin block in what was East Berlin, which is now used as an art and music space for rehearsals for bands and studios for bands. And the guy there asked us to come in, and he wanted to put a couple of songs out on a new record label they were putting together in Berlin called Evolution Records. So sounded like a good idea, so we recorded 2 tracks, and then we actually were back in Berlin about 6 months later, and we decided to record some more because we thought, why don't we just do the whole album from Berlin? And then unfortunately the guy had a few problems, personal problems, and so we didn't feel we could hassle him too much. But time's been getting on, and we now know that they have the red vinyl sitting in a flat in Berlin, but there's no sleeve yet. So the suggestion was that we'd fly to Berlin.
The records exist.
The records exist. I have seen a photograph over the internet, and the suggestion was that we'd fly to Berlin and break into the flat and steal the records, but we don't know where the flat is, so we can't do it.
So if anyone knows where the records are, please say hello and bring the records to Glasgow, at least. Or just give an address.
Yes, even if they get the records to André here, it would be good.
Probably you are in this music scene for a long time, at least since 1979, where you cut your first record, no?
In 78, the Zips recorded the first track, and then it was released in 79. I'd played in a few bands in Glasgow before that, sort of pub rock type bands, and then punk came along, and I just wanted to be part of it because it reminded me of the energy of the Who, the Kinks, Small Faces, and mid-70s music around the world was getting really boring.
It was too many notes.
Too much progressive rock. So when punk came along, I thought I want to be part of this. The rest of the band, apart from the guitarist, didn't. So the 2 of us split and formed the Zips. We should have been a 77 band, which carries a lot of kudos now if you say you're a 77 band. And we had been writing the songs in 77, but we couldn't get a bass player because Glasgow was traditionally a hard rock city. Status Quo, bands like that were very popular, and they hated punk music. So very few punk bands in Glasgow.
I was just reminding that probably one of the most popular punk band ever, they had a bass player that couldn't play notes, but I'm not going to say any names.
That's true. But we couldn't even get a bass player that couldn't play. We just couldn't get a bass player until January 78, and then Phil, the bass player who's there just now, came along, and that was it. We could start then.
Do you feel a big difference from the bands who started in 77 to the ones who came after that?
I didn't personally feel there was any difference, but the music business in London definitely did, because as we started to play our first shows, the Sex Pistols split up. And as far as London was concerned, when the Sex Pistols split, punk was dead and they were looking for something else. And so by the time we had recorded our first EP and were taking demo tapes to London, they weren't interested, because for them it was history.
Yeah.
They weren't interested. So we didn't think there was a difference, but obviously the outside world did. It took a while to get to Glasgow, and Glasgow also had a problem with the council were very, very reactionary against anything that was going to cause them a problem, basically. And the Stranglers played in Glasgow early on. They
were troublemakers back then.
They've always been troublemakers. But they played in the City Hall, which was a council hall. It wasn't a proper concert venue, but I suppose it was the only place that would book the punk band. But the council then had guys there watching what was going on, and a few chairs got knocked about. Nothing really serious, but that was it. They banned punk music for about 6 months in Glasgow, so it killed it right at the time when it should have happened in Glasgow. And we couldn't get gigs initially either, because nobody would book a punk band in case they lost their licence.
Oh yeah.
So that's why when people talk about where the bands came from, Edinburgh has the Rosillos.
Yes.
People always remember that. Dunfermline, which is quite a small town in Scotland, had the Skids.
Yes.
And then as you move down through England, there's specific cities have a punk band attached to them. But Glasgow had the start of one with Johnny and the Self-Abusers, but they became Simple Minds. They had one single, and then they changed to Simple Minds and changed direction. So
you are part of the really punk band in Glasgow.
In Glasgow, yeah.
Yes.
Early, yes.
Yeah.
But
I was asking you other question. There is you have that situation in Berlin with a new record label. The guy who decided to put up some songs of yours, and André started a record label because of you guys too, isn't it? So are you, after all these years, are you instigate people to start record labels in times that probably are not very favorable to record labels?
That's right. I think the resurgence of vinyl has made a difference to people, because we were finding selling CDs at shows that were less and less because people wanted to move to vinyl. So it's good that André's brought this single out that gives us something to have on the merch table. And eventually when we get the Berlin single, we'll have that as well. But it's more expensive to produce, so it's good when a record label comes forward and says they will put it out. Yeah. Because we have our own record label, Tenement Tunes, which we've had since 79, 80. So we can put records out, but vinyl is more expensive to put together. CDs are obviously much cheaper. Yeah.
And you guys with Zips, you have like 2 lives, one until 80.
December 1980,
and the other one after that already into the 2000s, is it?
2000 and 2001.
The new millennium.
The new millennium. I got a phone call from a guy called Dizzy, who runs a label called Detour Records in the UK, and he puts out compilations of punk bands back in the day who maybe only had one single, and he makes a compilation album of all these collections, which makes it quite interesting, because even everybody always says every band has at least one good song. So hopefully Dizzy gets that one good song and then he puts them on the album. So he contacted me and he said that did I know that the Zips had tracks on bootleg albums across Europe. There's quite a few famous ones like Bloodstains across the UK, and different compilations, and I didn't know about them. And he said, well, it'll be official with us and we'll pay you to put the tracks out. So that's what he did, and he picked 2 songs from the original Zips EP from 79, and then he asked us to come down to London to do the launch of the record. And we didn't have a lead guitarist because he was in Australia. So we had a replacement, and it was good fun playing the songs again after all those years. And so we decided we'd try and make a go of it back in Glasgow. but no one was interested in old guys playing punk in 2001 or 2002 until the Strokes and Black Rebel Motorcycle Club and the Hives and the Libertines came along, and they were being interviewed in the press and quoting Sex Pistols, Clash, Buzzcocks, all as their influence, which is what we had been saying when we were approaching promoters. And so they realised then they had someone on their doorstep, a band on their doorstep who were from the same background, and we started getting support slots, which was great. That just went from there.
And do you feel like you have more audience now than back in those days of where punk was not allowed in Glasgow?
Yes, definitely, because because of the ban on punk, it was difficult to get places that we could play. And then not only was there an official ban, but because of that, there was a climate in Glasgow against punk, and young kids walking about dressed like punks would get beaten up. They would get picked on and, attacked, basically. Which, I mean, had happened
it's like
it had happened in London as well. In King's Road on a Saturday, Teddy boys used to wait for punks coming along and then beat them up. But in Glasgow, it was quite rife. Our bass player Phil ended up with 13 stitches on top of his head after a gig one night where a guy hit him with a beer glass on the top of the head just because he didn't like punk music. So this time around it's much easier. People are much more friendly. And the other thing is that back then we were young guys and we were obviously looking for a record contract, so every show we were looking around for A&R men, people from record companies. We don't need to bother about that now. That's obviously not an issue. So we can just enjoy playing the shows. And obviously, being over here has extended the scope of the band. We didn't play outside the UK first time around. We played in London only a couple of times. So the range that the band have now is much wider than it was then.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to find out that people knew about the Zips EP, the first one, because we only pressed 500 copies, which makes it obviously rare.
Yeah.
And collectors have been collecting it for a number of years, which we didn't know about. So the name was out there.
Do you still have one? At least?
Still have two, I think. That's my pension.
Yes, I was thinking about it.
But yeah, it's interesting that you can come to somewhere like Lisbon and somebody might say, I have your EP.
Yeah.
And they're quite proud of it because it's worth quite a bit of money,
Yeah.
Last week it was...
If you go to Discogs, it's probably...
Discogs, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably... It costs like... I don't know, do you know the price?
Well, I don't generally check, but people keep emailing me and saying, have you seen this? And it was on eBay 2 weeks ago at £250, one copy. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But good for us.
Good for us, guys. That's right. That song, I Owe You, it's a political song.
It's political in as much as... workers' rights and how in the modern economy and modern industry, because everyone is frightened to lose their job, they work longer hours than they probably should do for no extra pay, and the bosses can basically blackmail them into doing more work than they should be doing and don't get treated well. So in the UK we call it the gig economy, so the guys who are driving Uber taxis or working for Amazon and companies like that not getting a proper wage. So it's just a reaction to that at the end of the day, if you keep in your mind that you only work fixed hours on a contract, and once you leave, your mind is your own. You shouldn't have to think about work or anything. That should be your time. So it's, I owe you nothing other than the work time.
The work time. That's that song that is lost somewhere in Berlin. But you have other songs. You have other songs, and you were telling me that you're gonna play. You have an acoustic guitar on you,
yes.
And you're gonna play some new, not new songs, but some songs of yours with the Mescaleros. Is that right?
Yes, obviously I've got the songs that I do with the Zips. There's this project now on Different Class Records with the Razor Ramon Contreras from Faro, the 3 songs that are on that EP. But apart from that, I had already been doing solo work, just acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to work with the Mescaleros on an EP. So there's 4 tracks on that, and yeah, you can play a couple from that. It gives you another flavour of what's going on.
Okay, so you want to go
do
for
it
that?
just now?
Yeah, if you feel comfortable with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it. This one first. I don't usually sit down, I usually stand up because I kind of move around a lot. But should be alright.
Television, filth and fury front page. Show me one musician, something to say about the human condition beyond the go-go cage. And kill your darlings, take them out one by one. Your words, or reach your heart out, but go kill your darlings. We don't need another love song, they've been sung to a death. Should be dying to tell us, instead of holding your breath. Yet anger like an energy, closer to the edge. Have you come up with the goods this time, or as close as it gets? And kill your darlings, take them out one by one. Eat your words, reach your heart out, but kill your darlings. Did you come your demons? Consider every word. Will this be the best song that I've ever heard? Don't say you got nothing to say after all. Soundtrack the revolution, I get up against the wall and kill your darlings, take them out one by one. Eat your words, or reach your heart out, but go kill your darlings. Yeah, go kill your darlings. Yeah, go kill your darlings.
All right. Okay. Do you think this? It's easy to still being part of the punk scene with in your 60s?
From 60 yet.
No, on 55.
19 forever.
On your 40s.
Yeah, I'm in denial. Always been in denial. Actually, that's the song the Zips do, 19 Forever, is because I was totally distraught when I was turning 20 that I wouldn't be a teenager anymore. So then I realised that it's all in your head. You don't actually have to say what age you are. But yeah, I'm obviously more mature than I was back in the day. But yeah, I don't know. I think if you think about it and you feel self-conscious about doing it, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, it should be natural. If it's not natural, punk music is very difficult to fake because, you know, the delivery of the song and the energy that has to come across. Yes. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it? You know, so it's. No, I think I'm doing all right.
And that song, it's one of those that you wrote with the Mescaleros, and everyone knows that Joe Strummer is one of your heroes. Yes. You never hide that from anyone.
Got Joe Strummer T-shirt on tonight.
Yeah, you never hide that from anyone. So doing music with the Mescaleros was somehow a way to touch your hero in terms musically. I mean,
yeah, it's strange how it came about. There was a woman doing PR, and I saw it on Facebook, and the PR she was doing was for mostly Scottish bands. So I thought, but I didn't recognise her name, so I contacted her on Facebook, and she said, well, you know, it's professional, you need to pay and all that. So we've not got any money. So she said, right, well, what about your website? And she looked and said, you guys are not doing this right. You're a real challenge. I'll give you 6 months of my time at no charge. I want to see if I can do something with sort you out. So I said, yeah, great. So she said, but I see that you're doing solo performances. And I said, yeah, that's right. She said, so have you got recordings? And I said, no. She said, well, why the hell would you go out and do shows if you don't have a CD or something to, you know, let people buy? She said, well, if you had the chance, who would you record with? And I said, oh, Joe Strummer. And she said, look, don't mess about here. You're wasting my time. I'm giving you time for free. Let's be serious. And I said, well, okay, the Mescaleros. And she said, well, that's funny. I know 2 of the Mescaleros. Pablo Cook, who played percussion, and Smiley Bernard, who's a drummer, and who's out with From the Jam now. He plays with them now, and with Bruce Foxton. And so she put the whole thing together, and but she's on the day of the recording, she said, whatever you do, don't say you're a Joe Strummer fan or a Clash fan. You're just in there to do a job, record the songs, don't waste time. So that made me more nervous. And so we did the first session, maybe a couple of hours, and then the guy said, I think we should stop for tea. So I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. And I sat down, and immediately Pablo said, so you're a big Joe Strummer fan? Wait till I tell you this story. It was like great. I didn't want to go back and record. I just wanted to sit with them all day and listen to the stories.
They told you a lot of stories, no?
Yeah, they told me some quite good stories, yeah. A great story about Joe's guitar, you know, it's like iconic. The Telecaster, Ignore Alien Order stickers and things like that on it. And they said that he didn't place any value on it. Obviously he knew that, God, how many photographs are out there with that guitar, but they would be recording maybe a late night session, and then they would go to the pub for a drink, and sometimes the guitar was just in a black bin liner bag, you know, a rubbish sack, just black plastic, because he'd forgotten the case or whatever. So he'd get to the pub and he would just throw it under the table. So there was almost like a team somebody had to be in charge of watching the guitar in case it went missing. But just like that. And as you read more about Joe Strummer and you know, his background, it's just like that it was totally down to earth. Nothing would really have any value to him. It's just you know.
But at the same time, that's a great story, because it seems like he doesn't care about the case, or having someone to treat his guitars or take care of that. Okay, I'll go, and it's like almost Jimi Hendrix, that was carrying the guitar always with him, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a part of the body.
Yeah.
If I go to the pub, she comes with me.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. And playing with those guys, what was the biggest lesson that you learned from playing with them?
Just Pablo is a percussionist rather than a drummer.
Yeah.
But so as a percussionist, he'll play anything. So he arrived for the session with a big case, which he opened up and threw on the floor, and there was everything in there, from like children's toy trumpets and anything that would make a noise. He'd kept over the years, because maybe sometime I can use that. So it doesn't need to be state-of-the-art equipment or expensive drums or anything like that. It was just what will make a good noise and fit in that particular track, that was quite surprising for me.
Yeah. Anyway, I've also written, you already spoke about it, this project with Ramon Contreras. How does it happen?
Through Andre, he put me in touch with Ramon, and so when we were playing together last year, Ramon suggested that we'd maybe do some songs together, which is fine. He's obviously a guitarist. I'm probably better at writing lyrics than I'm playing guitar, as that previous track will show. I'm just a strummer like Joe. But we didn't have time to do it last year while I was there, but Ramon just put the tracks together, sent me MP3s, and then I wrote the lyrics and did demos in Glasgow, sent them back to Ramon. And then last October, I was back in Portugal. I was actually on holiday, and I went with Ramon to a studio outside Faro, and we recorded the vocals then over the backing tracks, and it was good fun. It was good fun doing that, because I had no involvement other than actually writing the lyrics, which was unusual for me, because usually I'm doing the whole shebang.
Was your first thought when André told you, hey, you want to work with this Portuguese guy? Portuguese? They don't know how to do rock and roll. No?
Yeah, well Ramon's background's good, because he's been in like psychobilly bands and all that. He's a great guitarist, a really good guitarist. So, and he's got the right attitude. So that worked fine. I mean, I've met some great musicians between Ramon and on these dates that we've just done. Stephen South from Dead Pigeon put the gig together, or helped to put the gig together at Curious at Barcine Teatro, and he's a great guy. And actually last year I was just supposed to play solo acoustic at Almada and Cine Incrível. But Stephen got in touch and said he could put a band together to back me. So again, that was just passing MP3s backwards and forwards, and we had one rehearsal before we actually played that night, and it was great. It was Stephen on guitar, a guy called Carlos on drums.
Yes, Ricardo on the drums. Cajo in bass. I forgot the.
But this year it was Dead Pigeon, and that's Stephen South's band, and is it Carlos the drummer? Ricardo, you said? Ricardo. And they were great. So they were at the show at Barcine Teatro.
Twice, like a loop.
Yeah.
Just me let put André on the talk here. André, tu arranjaste este contacto através da entrevista, já sabemos, mas estás cada vez mais ativo na fanzine, o Alfinete.
Sim, a fanzine começou em 2011 e foi nesse ano que eu vi os Zips em Blackpool, Aliás, depois de ter acabado o concerto, falei com o John, aquelas conversas triviais, olha, sou de Portugal, e ele, ok, Portugal, Algarve, é sempre assim um bocado essa conversa circunstancial, o sol, praia, Algarve, e ficou daí, pronto, um ligeiro contacto no sentido de comprei os CDs e ficou lá o e-mail, tinha lá o e-mail no género de um insert. E depois, com o desenrolar da fanzine, fui editando vários. Eu, juntamente com o outro pessoal que faz a fanzine, fomos editando vários números. Depois chegou uma altura, aí no quinto ou no sexto número, lembrei-me, tinha o contacto do John, e lembrei-me, olha, vou fazer uma entrevista aos Zip.
Sim, porque não? Exato.
E escrevi ao John, disse, olha, tenho aqui o projeto da fanzine, tinha interesse em fazer uma entrevista. O John foi logo, mostrou-se logo disponível para fazer a entrevista, disse logo que era uma boa ideia e fizemos a entrevista. E depois da entrevista até a última pergunta, que é aquela pergunta da praxe e tal,
o que é que dizem os teus olhos?
Não sei quê. Não é bem nesse género, mas é quase tipo, quais são os projetos para o futuro. E o John disse, gostávamos de tocar em mais alguns sítios e quem sabe em Portugal. Ficou assim um bocado no ar. Mas pensei eu cá para os meus botões, isso, pronto, pegar nos Jips agora, nesta altura do campeonato, e trazer para Portugal não seria assim uma coisa assim muito fácil de se fazer. Mas depois, em 2014, já tinha ganho um certo, entre aspas, arcabouço com uma banda de Berlim, que era hoje de Nota Muse, e ficou assim um bocado isto dos concertos. Então eu pensei, ficou assim um interregno de uns anos, 2, 3 anos. Depois contactei o John, lá está a história das low cost, das viagens. Eu vi assim, uma companhia qualquer, já não me lembro, tinha viagens de Glasgow para Lisboa bastante baratas. E eu fiz assim por alto aquelas contas, né, com caneta, fica 200, 300 paus, mas depois esquecia-me do backline.
Do backline, sim.
O problema é sempre o backline, então a conta ficava um bocadinho mais para cima, ficava assim um bocadinho insuportável só para um gajo sozinho. Então, nesse caso, o John disse, olha, vamos apalpar terreno e eu vou ir sozinho e fazemos uma tour a solo com ele só a tocar os temas dele e dos Zips e cenas dos Clash e ficou assim. E depois em 2017 fizemos essa tour, abriu sem dúvida as portas ao John e aos Zips, porque depois está tudo interligado. E o concerto do Popular correu bastante bem. O da Almada também, dentro dos possíveis, também correu bem, e o de Faro também correu bem.
Mas estás também a trazer outras bandas a Portugal?
Sim, depois trouxe os...
Tudo na base, desculpa, vou passar a dizer isto, tudo na base da arqueologia do punk,
assim,
não é?
Um bocado pegar na máquina de tempo e trazê-los cá quando nunca vieram cá, e acho que é um bocado até estranho de vir em Espanha e depois Portugal não existe, ou seja, é um deserto, ou seja, a maior parte dessas bandas chegam à Espanha e voltam para trás, nunca não chegam à costa. Então, trouxe os Protex da Irlanda do Norte, que é uma banda clássica do punk. Aliás, o nome vem de um tema dos Clash, que é o Protex Blue, que era uma cena de preservativos, e eles, como eram tão inocentes, eram uma banda teen punk, então escolheram o tema com base do tema dos Clash, Protex Blue, sem saber que aquilo era alusivo a preservativos. Então ao início era uma banda gozada por causa disso, porque tinha o nome de uma marca de preservativos. Então, mas é uma banda que hoje em dia toca em todo lado, praticamente. Esteve aí há pouco tempo nos Estados Unidos, na Alemanha, em todo lado. E decidi, juntamente com o Ramon de Faro, decidimos, e com outro rapaz, o Sabinho, que também é dos Psychotramps, decidimos dividir o mal pelas aldeias. Então eles ficavam com a parte do Algarve e eu ficava com o Lisboa. Então foi assim que veio o ano passado os Protex, e depois ainda trouxe também o Paul Collins, dos The Beat, um nome seguramente conhecido, que praticamente tem segunda casa em Espanha. Então faz tours de 30, 40 datas pela Europa fora. Claro que Portugal só tinha vindo cá uma vez em 2011, e eu depois pá, por intermédio do Facebook, vi que, como tinha adicionado o Paul Collins há algum tempo, vi que ele estava a fazer uma tour, e assim como quem não quer a coisa, manda-lhe uma mensagem: epá, olha, queres vir aqui a Portugal? E eu, claro, foi logo: epá, sim, epá, quero, não sei o quê, só que, pronto, lá está, as questões monetárias estão
sempre como mais complicadas.
É sempre um entrave às coisas, mas com a conversa conseguiu-se. Eu acho que hoje em dia este tipo de bandas mais antigas, que nunca chegaram, por exemplo, a países como Portugal, estão mais receptivas a convites e põem um bocado de lado aquelas exigências.
Sim. E diz-me uma coisa, a editora que tu começaste agora com o single, não é?
Exato, com o EP.
É só para lançar este EP ou é para continuar a...
Eu já tinha a ideia da editora já há algum tempo, já há alguns anos até, tive palavrado algumas reedições de singles, um bocado como os zips, aqueles singles de 500 cópias ficam perdidas alguns num sótão e que nunca mais saem de lá, e depois os preços atingem preços completamente ridículos, né? Mas ambos os contactos que eu tive foi com mais que 2 ou 3 bandas inglesas. Por uma ou outra razão nunca se chegou à frente. Ao início mostraram receptividade, mas depois divergências entre elementos do grupo, grupos que já não existem, mas que acabaram mal, né?
Sim.
Não se dão, nem se querem ver, nem querem saber um.
Aí é mais complicado.
Bastante complicado. Um pedia royalties, o outro estava-me tudo, ou seja, as demos e tudo. Não havia, lança-me isso. E, mas depois, claro, depois do outro ameaçava com advogados, claro. E não havia hipótese, nem me queria meter no meio
dessas confusões, claro.
E por isso surgiu esta ideia do Ramon, já tinha a gravação desde o final do ano passado, e depois, conciliando a ideia do EP e da tour, pensei: pronto, olha, vou misturar as duas coisas, pode ser que resulte, ou seja, a tour com o lançamento do EP.
John, we are almost at the end of our time, but before we finish this and listen one more song, these are good times to do punk music again, and especially to be political about
what's going on.
Yeah, what's going on.
Yeah, it's strange that the world has changed dramatically in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
and the rise of the right wing around the world. So yeah, this song is probably appropriate.
Yeah,
it's called "Left of Your Rights." But can I stand up, Nuno?
Yeah, of course. Let's stand up. Yeah.
I usually always stand up.
Stand up.
Yeah. Right. Left of Your Rights. Thanks very much for inviting me on the show.
Thank you very much.
Really good fun.
It was a great pleasure having you here, and I hope you and your wife have a great, great times in Portugal.
I meant to say, one of the songs on the EP mentions a guy called Paul Ramos.
Paul Ramos.
And he was in a punk band called
Minas e Armadilhas, uma das bandas punk lisboetas.
And we had a good conversation last year, and he said that they didn't record anything, but they had done demos, and they'd lost it all. So there's a line in the song "Truth or Dare," the lost tapes of Paulo Ramos. I thought it was like a film title. Anyway.
You have the right to the light from the heavens above, for walls to surround the ones you love. A safe haven from those that would criticize you for political perversions and views. Sex, race and ethnicity should not be a bar. Religious freedom, a right that's enshrined. And the sins of the father not passed to sons and daughters. Human rights for all men and womankind. When you're going through hell, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop till you reach the other side. When you're going through hell, don't stop, don't stop, don't drop what's left of your rise. Alright. You have the right to education, to read, yeah, to write. To not be forced to kill or be killed is a right. Human rights for all men and womankind. 'Cause when you're going through hell, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop till you reach the other side. When you're going through hell, don't stop, don't stop, don't drop what's left of your rights. Alright. Stand up and fight for what's left of your rights. Scream and shout for what's left of your rights. Take to the streets for what's left of your rights. Don't let them take away what's left of your rights. Freedom of speech is a right to speak your own mind, without which there's no light in this world. No sound of war be all that your children ever hear. Let chimes of freedom be ringing in their ears. 'Cause when you're going through hell, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop till you reach the other side. When you're going through hell, don't stop, don't stop, don't drop what's left of your rights. Alright. Globalization a threat to your rights. Gentrification a threat to your rights.